Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL Podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL Podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I am your host, Lake, and I am joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are we today?
Great. How are you, Lake?
Doing all right. Trying to survive the week right now.
I hear that.
Yeah. Well, we're chugging through the whole weekend, but moving on.
We're not here to talk about that.
No, we are not. We are here to talk about cruising, and probably many people's favorite cruise destination or dream cruise destination. Christy, where are we going today?
We're going to Alaska.
Yep. And with that, we would like to welcome our guest to the show. Amy, how are you today?
Great, Lake. How are you? Hi, Christy.
Doing good. I'm excited. This is my first Alaska recording.
Oh, yay. It was my first Alaska cruise.
It's perfect. And Lake, is this your first recording with Amy?
I do believe so.
So you'll get to have fast-talking Amy back. She's been here a couple times. I think it was the first show that Steve and I really did with a guest that you were on back in your first Bahamian cruise, and then you came back. It took you a little bit. You took a little bit of a hiatus, and I guess you can talk about that just briefly, and then we had you back on again.
Yeah, we did like a 101 series for first-time cruisers. And then we talked about my first cruise on the Dream, which was a 4-night to the Bahamian. And then I did a second one on the Fantasy, all the way down to Eastern Caribbean. And when I came back, we talked about this on my last podcast, I had this mal-de débarquement syndrome, which is a movement disorder. It's funny because you think it's like inner ear, but all the stuff I was taking for inner ear on board and afterward didn't help. And it turns out it's like a neurologic condition that can happen from any motion. And so I was like, well, I guess I can't cruise again. And so I gave up on cruising and did our Disney trips and this and that. And then a few years into it, I think it was right around the pandemic, I had this motion problem in Disney World. And it was like, oh my gosh, I can't stop going to Disney or flying or rides or what is it? So I'd seen my doctor, my ENT, and he gave me the like official diagnosis because I'd kind of seen him in the hallway and got the diagnosis, but we had done like the hall, because I work in the hospital. And he did a bunch of testing, lay on the table, close your eyes, open your eyes, stand on one foot, do all this stuff, and figured it out. And he said, we went day by day through the whole trip. And he pinned it down to 3 things.
For people that might not know, it's basically when you feel like you're on a moving ship after you're off a ship, it just doesn't stop.
Right. So the first time I had it was for 19 days. I felt like I was on a moving sidewalk. And I felt like I would just eventually like hit that wall. Like felt like I was in motion. And when I went up the stairs, like climbing stairs made me dizzy. And getting on an elevator made me dizzy. So I how am I going to get to the second floor where I work? I don't know. So I would just like close my eyes and hold on to the staircase and walk up. The 3 things he discovered were hydration. He's like, you're running around these parks, you're getting up early, you're staying up late, you're not drinking water because you don't want to go to the bathroom. You need to hydrate. The second thing was to avoid alcohol as much as possible till it went away. Because the second time it happened, I felt like I was walking in a bouncy house for about 6 weeks. And that's when I finally broke down and went in to see him. So and I was like, gosh, at night I'd have a glass of wine and try to fall asleep. And he's like, okay, no, we can't, no alcohol for a couple of days and you need to sleep. Like get as much time in bed as you possibly can. Like if you can get in bed at 8 p.m. and lay there till 6 a.m., do that. And so I did. I committed for 3 days, hydrate, no alcohol and sleep. And I was better in about 2 days. So and I kept doing it all week. And then I just sort of, of course, my previous podcast, we recorded the 3-night in the Wish and I tested the waters and I was fine. I just carried my big water bottle around. I refilled it. I'd have a glass of wine occasionally. I just never overdrank. I'd have like a glass of wine with dinner or a glass of wine at a bar and maybe not finish it fully, have my husband finish it and then drink a big thing of water in between. And then just committed to going to bed on time. I'm like, just get enough sleep. And those three things, staying hydrated, getting enough sleep, and not over drinking, solved it. So, and I followed the same pattern for Alaska, and it was great. We did champagne tasting. We did drinks at Palo. Oh, spoiler alerts. But I was fine, so it was good. So now we have 2 more cruises booked. So it's good. I'm glad. So now we're back. And after I felt like the cruising went well on the Wish, we decided my kid loved the Edge so much. He's 13 years old. Oh, it's myself traveling. I'm Amy and my husband, Jeff, and our 13-year-old son. And he loved the Edge so much. On the Wish, we decided to pivot our previously scheduled vacation and get to go to Alaska. We went late August 28th, 2023. And we got a VGY room, which was a veranda. And we got lucky because when I paid in full, they gave us my room number, which was awesome. I was on the 7th floor. It was at Navigator's Veranda, which was perfect. It was super cute and perfect and wonderful. And I guess we should start at the beginning, though.
Well, why don't we go ahead and take it back to going to Vancouver then? And what did we do in Vancouver before the cruise?
Yes. Okay. So we're in Detroit. And a little tip for anybody that is in Detroit or near Detroit, our airfare was like 150,000 miles to fly one person from Detroit to Vancouver, 130,000 miles. It was ridiculous. But if I flew from Toronto, which is about a 5-hour drive or 4-hour drive from Detroit, it was only 25,000 miles per person. So 75,000 miles. And here we went. So we did the drive. We drove to Toronto, substantial savings, parked our car at the airport, stayed at the airport hotel, and flew out in the morning. Had a great flight, uneventful. And in Vancouver, we stayed at the Metropolitan Hotel, which is on Howe Street, right down from Canada Place. It could have been walking. It was walking distance without suitcases, but we decided to take a cab when we went. And in Vancouver, like the first day, we just sort of strolled the town, kind of got adjusted to the time zone, walked to Canada Place, saw the boats, the waterfront, that gas lamp district, and Science World, which is this really cool science museum. But they have these great grounds and tons of walking, and there was like a little river, and it was just kind of nice being outside. And we ate that night at Tap and Barrel, which comes with highly recommended. It seemed like everyone was always talking about Tap and Barrel. And we had a great meal. It was delicious. And then made our way back to our hotel. And then the second night, we packed a lot in. The first thing, 9 a.m., we were at the bike rental station, and we had reserved bikes to ride and rode them all the way into Stanley Park, which, if you guys don't know, to the listeners out there, Stanley Park is a huge, huge park, sort of like Central Park in New York City. And they actually say it's 10% larger than Central Park. And so it's great because there's a walking path all the way around it. And it's on this sort of seawall perimeter. And there's 2 paths, one for walkers and one for riders. It's a one-way path for the bicyclists. So it was just super chill. You didn't have to worry about people running at you or bikes going the other way. Just head around. I think it was about 8 miles all the way around. And we just could have done it all day. We could have just ridden. It was a ton of fun. From the, you see the park and all the, grass and scenery, but then also you could see the whole landscape of the city, and there's totem poles, and it was just a really great park and a great day we spent. And then to cram more into the day, we went back to our resort briefly to grab our stuff and went to Granville Island. And we had taken a cab part of the way, and we got out because we wanted to take some pictures or something. We said, we could just walk across this bridge. Do not walk across that bridge. It was like terrifying. It's a car bridge. There is a walkway. The guy was like, oh yeah, you can walk. And then we took some pictures of something like on the waterfront. I'm like, that bridge? And it was just like terrifying. And you're looking down those little grates and you're like, don't look down. And then you look up and you see how far and like, don't look up, don't just made it. So we made it to Granville Island. It was we did lots of hiking on this vacation. Just cute shops there. There was a whole huge central market that had everything from like fish and chicken to fruits and veggies, bread and cheese. And we had food court food. We all had 3 different items. There was live music. And it was just a really cool vibe, fun afternoon. But the gear that we grabbed, we needed was because we were going whale watching. Just trying to fit everything into 3 days in Alaska was impossible. Like, we got to see the glacier, and we want to see the bears, and we want to do all this stuff. Like, where are we going to fit in the whale watching? So we decided to do it in Vancouver. And we did a company called Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales there. But it was great because I found a sunset cruise. They had other cruises. I'm like, well, if I do sunset cruise, I can pack more in during the daytime. And we did pack stuff during the day. So it was good. We went off on a 4-hour trip it was a sunset cruise. It was just, we left during, the evening. We were bundled up a little. It actually didn't get that cold out there. And we saw humpback whales, harbor seals, harbor porpoises, a bunch of seabirds, including terns and cormorants, and a bunch of, if Jeff was here, he would tell you all the Alaska birds that we saw. And it was then a sunset, just a beautiful, beautiful excursion. So that's a great option for people looking to whale watch. We had dinner at Tavern and Barrel again. It was right there, right by the port. We're like, let's just go eat there. And it was another delicious meal right outside on the water and overlooking. It was just a great two days in Vancouver.
Awesome. Well, why don't we turn towards our first day aboard the ship and our embarkation process?
Yes, embarkation was great. Like I had mentioned, our hotel was very nearby. It was about 4 or 5 blocks. And, it's just lugging all the luggage and stuff. We just felt like we're going to take a lift. We usually lift everywhere. And they said, there's cabs out front. It's really easy. They'll fit all your suitcases. So we got a great cabbie, and he literally drove us right into the parking garage, right up to the guys that took our bags and walked into the building. So our bags they were tagged already. We got through customs and boarded the ship. It was just like a super easy process.
Awesome. And was this your first time on the Wonder then?
Yes, our first time, because we did Dream, Fantasy, Wish, and then now the Wonder. So it was beautiful. You walked on, and the red chandelier and the beautiful lobby. I mean, it's totally different than the Wish because we had just been on the Wish, but it was just those like glass and golden elevators, and then Triton's just right there. It was beautiful to walk onto the ship. Like I'd said, we had the guaranteed veranda, and it was perfect room. I just loved it. The veranda was great. It had, the Navigator's veranda it's open air. It's got like a cutout window, and so it's sort of like metal around. So it's open air, but it blocks the wind, which was nice. And you still had a great view. And then our 2 little chairs out there. So it was very cozy. It was just very comfortable. We liked the balcony a lot. So we're happy to get into there. It was cool because, the Wonder, as it goes up, it goes under that Lionsgate Bridge, which is pretty
cool.
Yeah. So we had ridden under the Lionsgate Bridge on our bikes on Granville Island. And so I'd pointed out and took pictures of it on the bikes. And then when we got on the boat, I'm like, here it is. And so we went out on front and we met some people and chatted with them. Actually, we kept running into this couple throughout the trip. They bought us drinks one night. Nice people. So I don't even remember their name. If you're out there, thanks for the drinks and spending time with us under the Lionsgate Bridge. And so I just kind of bullet pointed the things we did over like the 2 days, because like the first day we got on, we got situated, unpacked. And then the second day was a sea day. So our favorite thing was listening to music in that piano bar there.
Cadillac Lounge. Yep.
Yes.
We can get there as a team.
Got there. Teamwork makes the dream work. Yeah, that was one of our favorite. We just chilled in there, and they'd bring us little snacks. And I like sparkling wine as my favorite drink, and champagne. And they'd bring us drinks, and they would play the Disney music. And sometimes it was more just Disney or just piano music. It was very relaxing. Our favorite kind of hangout.
And was your son 12 on this trip still?
He was 12 for like a week. His birthday was 3 days after we got home.
And this was his second cruise on the Edge, or in Edge, right?
Yes.
And then did he go to the icebreakers?
He did. Yes. So we got on, and we did the little tour that everyone could go. And as soon as icebreakers were available, and that was my next bullet point, loving every moment in the Tween Club in the Edge. So he went to the icebreakers. When you first get there, there's like a wheel that you spin, and you get assigned to villains or heroes. And yeah, so I don't know. At one point I had read that you could choose which team you wanted. but they just had you spin and then you got assigned to a team. And this was sort of your team. And each day there would be some sort of villain and hero activity and you could earn points. And then as the cruise went on, like the team with the most points won. And they all got like a t-shirt and stuff. Not my kid. He was not on that team, but he did win at bingo. And he came home with like a fidget spinner. And I saw him over there with sunglasses on playing basketball on the pool deck. I'm like, I was worried you didn't have your sunglasses. He's like, I won them at bingo. So I got sunglasses to wear. They let me pick and I needed sunglasses. So that worked out. Yeah. So while we were enjoying the piano bar, he was at the edge. Oh, so one little thing about booking late is we ended up on late dining, which is 8:15 p.m. And now normally we eat at, 5:30. So it was a little late for us, especially with the time zone change, 4 hours from Michigan to Alaska. So we sort of adjusted. And I, at one point on here, said we actually enjoyed the service being speedier than main dining, less tiny kids and more calm dining room. So there's pros and cons. I remember being tired and hungry.
Yeah, and you still booked early dining, I believe, for your next cruise, right?
I did book her. I
back to team early.
And there were a couple times that we were grateful that we had late dining. I'll discuss, but yeah, so that was great. There was another thing that's unique about Alaska cruises and unique about Disney cruises, it seems like, are that they have the naturalists that come on board and give the lectures. So we got to watch them. They were offered 3 separate times and we watched every single one of them. We actually made friends with the naturalist. His name was Ken. And we met him and his family. And
of course you did.
Had drinks too at the little cocktail champagne with a captain's gala little cocktail party. I was like, oh, there's the guy. And then his daughter was there and we were chatting with them. And so, yeah, nice people. Anyways, he was really smart. And he talked about all the first talk was about like wildlife and habitats. And then they also talked about cultural talks and about how totem poles were made and how they signify like a family, or usually a family, I think, but it could be like, or a community, like how each one means something. And it was pretty cool to learn about that. We really those 2 days was just enjoying the activities on the ship, but just going outside and looking at the scenery and just the coastal Canada and Inside Passage as you're going up, looking to the left, looking to the right, and just seeing all the random stuff. Just the scenery. We saw a bunch of seabirds. We actually saw a little pack of dolphins. We saw a bunch of dolphins, several salmon. We'd just see them like jump around. We're like, what is that over there? And you zoom in and you see they were salmon. And then we saw like 7 or 8 humpback whales right along our ship as we're going. It was amazing. Like you could see it. We were on deck 4 seeing all this, because 4 is great because you can see lower, closer to the water. But when you're on 10, and that was like especially great on the glacier day because you could get more of like the scenery. And then your balcony is more of a narrow view of just what's outside your room. But when you're parked at a glacier, just looking at the beautiful, like it was a perfect place to sit. And we had our little cheese and cracker plate and sat out there. So just enjoying, the ship and its amenities and the food and the shows, and then nature taken along. So it was just an amazing vacation. It was like the best of both worlds, if you could somehow classify everything into 2 worlds. And then we went to Cove Cafe and had coffees, and I actually had saved my little Cove punch card from before and got our free coffee, which was great. Hold on to those. And the beautiful part, one of our highlights, walking the deck on deck 4 around the entire ship. It was magical. And then here on our first night, we did eat at Ann Mater's Palette, which was great. I had salmon tartar, butternut squash soup, shrimp salad. I must have had snacks to the point that I didn't want much dinner. So, because I had like the shrimp salad off the lighter menu. And then our second night, Tiana's, I was adjusting a little more. That halibut was delicious. And it's great. I had to look up. I didn't know what baked Alaska was. I knew it was a dessert, but it was delicious. It was like the Neapolitan ice cream and then like the puff pastry, and they torch it. So that was pretty tasty. So you got to have baked Alaska when you're in Alaska. And then I don't remember what the show on the first night was. If there was a show, maybe there wasn't even a show. But the second night was the Golden Mickeys, which is cute and fun. And so my kid actually left the edge for long enough to meet us at the show. Yeah. And then he went right back. And he stayed there until midnight. Every single night that we let him. Except for the days we had to get up early.
Which the next day is one of your days you have to get up early, right?
Yes, coming up. Yeah, so that was day 1 and 2, and now we're on to day 3, which is our scenic viewing day, the glacier day. So first thing in the morning, actually, he didn't get up. He slept. So we got up, and first thing in the morning, as you know, it is crucial and important that you're up there super early to get in line for Mickey and Minnie. And right on the deck, as you kind of walk up, and we just stood there, and there were 2 girls there, and I was like, is this the line? They're like, we think it's the line. I'm like, are you guys from our Facebook group? And they're like, yes, we're from our Facebook group. So it was the moderator, we had kept running across them on the ship. It was great to, meet people in person that you'd been chatting with for months before the cruise. And they're just nice people. They were nice people. So we sat up there for a while. We all waited in line for about an hour. So as they were starting to like set up cameras and the people were starting to move around, we're like, are we sure this is the front of the line? And so as the line built, we're like, this is the front of the line here. And then we had to get in line. And then just in case it wasn't where we thought it was, but it worked out that we had directed the line in the right direction. And so, they had gone and ate breakfast and stuff. I was just like, grab food, ran outside, and then my husband brought me a hot chocolate later, which was nice. So Mickey showed up, and I was number 3 in line. So we got our pictures with Mickey, and it was great. Right out in the wilderness, photos on deck was awesome. And then Minnie Mouse across the way, I think people saw the Mickey line was so long and just gave up and went to Minnie because that line was really, really long. And the lecture was going to happen, but I'm like, I got to meet my girl Minnie. So those 2 wandered off and I guess got more breakfast or did something. And then I went and met Minnie Mouse. And then they went into the lecture, which I think at this point was about glaciers. Our buddy Ken was talking about the formation of the glaciers, which was pretty interesting. We learned more on the excursion, but a couple little facts are that it takes 100 feet of snow to compress to make 1 inch of glacier. So 100 feet of snow, 1 inch of glacier. And then they said that they get their signature blue color once it's 90% compressed. So that's why some of it's like white and some of it's blue. And then the Mendenhall Glacier, which we'll see coming up on day 5, he said it's retreated 5 miles in recent history with global warming. The one thing that was kind of interesting is he said it is still growing, but it's just shrinking at a greater rate that it's growing. So that was kind of cool to hear the historical perspective and the science behind the glaciers. And then we had some lunch on the pool deck. Our favorite kind of place was Daisy's. They had these really great sandwiches and salads and fruit. And like they would throw the sandwiches on the little grill behind and make like a little panini and wraps and stuff. So that was tasty. I highly recommend. And we did manage to get the glacier excursion booked. So that was the 3-hour trip booked only through Disney.
Did your son go?
Yeah, and he loved it too. It was pretty awesome. Yeah, he's 13. He's like a little adult, so he enjoyed it and appreciated it. It sells out fast, so if you're hearing this, book early. Get on as soon as you can and book this with our priority. The first thing we booked this first, and then one of the drink tastings second. But they come on the little boats. They hold 145 people maybe. Yeah, 145 people on each one. So it's amazing because they're actually able to maneuver closer to the glaciers. So in the morning, kind of while we were out waiting for Mickey and Minnie, we'd seen a boat come up and the 2 pilots got on board. They were like these Alaskan navigator people, and based on their weather and water conditions, they determined where we would be able to go on our glacier day. So we got lucky and we got to go to Tracy Arm Fjord, which there was like everyone, like they made the announcement. I was like, yelling, all excited. And we were able to see the Sawyer Glacier. So the Disney Wonder pulls up to like this fork in the road, and then it parks. And then these 2 little ships come up, and half of us get in one ship and the other half get in the other ship, and you take off closer. So the Disney Wonder just stays right there at that fork. So the first glacier we went up to see was the South Sawyer Glacier. We saw this, turquoise blue water. I don't even know how the water is just so like milky turquoise, beautiful. Waterfalls, glacier ice. It's later in August, so it's nice because there was still ice, but we were able to get really close to the glacier and go around a big chunk and get right up on there and see the glacier, which was amazing. And then we came back, said hi to the Wonder, and kept going up another leg. So they were up our second arm, and we're able to go up, and we saw which was just called the first was South Sawyer Glacier and then Sawyer Glacier. So that was, I mean, we learned about it. They talked a bit about on it, and that was a 3-hour trip. And then it was great because we just got back and we were kind of tired out. So we ordered a little room service snack because we've got 10 or 20 hours till dinner. And so we had a little snack out there, but you're just sitting on your balcony with this blue water. And I don't know, it's just an amazing.
What time was your glacier viewing?
It was noon to 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got back and had like our first lunch, dinner, our third meal of the day. And just had a little, that little cheese plate. It's our favorite. Mm-hmm. I think we had salads too, which, room service is all included, which was lovely. Just tip a little. And then just sat and watched. And then as the ship took off, we just kind of sat there and watched it take off and just enjoyed sort of like the outside component. And then we did go to dinner, 8:15, 15 hours after our excursion. And we ate. Where did we eat? Oh, Tiana's. Tiana's was great. It was great restaurant. I usually eat seafood. So I had the scallop puff pastry and halibut. And then I'd order, it's a funny story. So just be mindful of your dessert when it arrives. I'd order this like no sugar added, like lemon mousse with strawberry drizzle. And then my kid had ordered some kind of like marshmallow with like Tiana or something on it. And so this thing comes at me and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, this is, and I take a little bite of it. I'm like eating and my kid's just wolfing down whatever he's eating. And he's like, this is good. It kind of tastes like lemon. And I'm like, yeah, this is weird. Mine doesn't taste like lemon at all. I looked over and I'm like, give me that. It's my dessert. So we swapped desserts back. So be mindful. My lemony dessert was in front of my kid. That was a great glacier day. Great introduction to Alaska.
Glacier day is so good.
So good.
It's so good.
Yeah. It's just beautiful and tranquil and, the characters in the morning and we were, bundled up. We had our hiking shoes on. I did bring many, many layers. I was wearing, I think just leggings or did I have jeans over them? But I also had rain pants along that just zip that you just can pull right over. It's like snow pants, but they're like just thinner than snow pants. They were rain pants. So that was great because it was an extra layer. I think I just had on leggings because there's an inside compartment where you can sit inside and stay warm and then kind of bundle up a little bit and go back outside again. It was very windy. And then once we'd stop moving, they let us go up onto the top deck and then you could get some really great views. And so we'd all kind of rope drop and run up there. And you want to avoid, I think your husband gave this tip about you want to watch for like the satellite and the antennas and stuff because you don't want to be standing right there and have that in all your photos. So kind of veer to the side so you avoid that. And they turn the ship. So if you get a front row spot and you're facing, the waterfall, eventually they're going to turn, you'll be facing the glacier. So it's a win-win up there.
Yeah, but the tip was don't go in the center. Don't go up and in the center go to one of the sides because you will just have the antennas from the ship in all your pictures, which I mean is fine, but like you said, you can go to the side. Lake, did you do this excursion on your cruise?
We did. We went to Endicott Arm, so we went to a different glacier. And unfortunately, we didn't get that close because of the season and the ice. But this was still one of our favorite excursions that we did. It is very expensive, regardless of what cruise line you do. Mm-hmm. But it is, I think everyone has said it's very well worth it.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's usually very intimate as well. Typically, there is a naturalist on board as well there, and they will spout out all sorts of facts. I don't know about yours, but for ours, they fed us. They had a bar on board as well.
Yes, they had a bar. I heard about the Glacierita. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but glacier ice is not safe to drink or eat. And they know this because I'm like the science nerd, and I'm researching all this about glacier ice. It turns out they say it's just, ice right out of the water here. Well, it's probably, or out of this fjord. It's not usually actual glacier ice. Sorry. But yeah, so it is not really glacier ice because it could contain ancient bacteria that would be bad for you. So look it up one day. So that was an amazing, there were the naturalists on board and it was just, and we would see people that we had seen on the excursion because it is just a handful of people that are able to get it. Ours was $300, my friend is actually going on Royal, and theirs, I mean, it was 6 hours though, and theirs was like $800.
Well,
yeah. I was like, is that right? But it was kind of an interesting where like they were doing two things on the same day, like glacier in the morning and something in the afternoon.
So a lot of ships, like when I did Norwegian, our glacier day was actually combined with Juno. So what happens is the Bliss's sister ship goes and does the glacier in the morning, and then you guys swap port spots. But because of that, we actually got on the small ship from the Bliss, but the Bliss was still docked in Juno, and we went out ahead. But then you have a very long boat ride out to Endicott Arm and then into the fjord where the glacier is. Mm-hmm. So it is a much longer day and actually a lot less glacier experience compared to getting on the ship and already being at the glacier.
Well, and those ships are so large too, that they can't get as far as a general rule down. And so that's why it's a longer excursion, but also why on some levels, if you're doing Royal or NCL in the larger ships, like an excursion like this, just to get closer is so important.
Yes. So she was going to do it. And then she was like bummed because she was like, we were going to go whale watching in Juneau, but we can't really go whale watching in Juneau. I'm like, oh, I have a tip. Go do your glacier or go do your whale watching. And they're leaving from Seattle. So we had found some excursions there in Seattle, some good places. So that'll be good. Yes, highly recommend. It was amazing to get close, on the Disney Wonder, but then even closer was just, and we're hikers. We're like we have plans on Friday night. We're going to go, we have dinner reservations and we're going bird watching to see these owls at like sunset. So we're like outdoorsy kind of people. So we really appreciated this trip, especially. So that was on day 3.
Well, it certainly sounds like you were on the right cruise then.
Yes.
And then day 4, we keep the fun going with Skagway, Alaska.
Yes, Skagway. So it's our first day on land. All this has happened before we even like hit the ground, and we were on, and I was fine, no motion problems. So we were able to walk off the ship right at 8:30 in the morning. And our excursion, I think, was 11:15. So we had time to walk off, which I was appreciative of because then you can actually see the town. So Skagway is like one of the original Gold Rush towns. It was a historical actual town, which was kind of cool. It's very small. It's like one big strip back and forth. And the first thing we did was we went to the Gold Rush National Park Museum, which is the national park. And it sort of gives the history of the Gold Rush. And there was a 25-minute film that we sat and watched. And then it was literally like a up and back, like a little 5 blocks, walked down and then strolled back, and we're able to see every single part of the downtown area. We like to buy like a unique souvenir if we can that doesn't take up too much space. And so we ended up getting some prints from some local artists, which was kind of cool. We found a little art gallery. It's on the right-hand side. If you're walking from the Gold Rush Museum, head up on the right. There was a co-op art gallery there. And we got, like a few, like one was like $30, one was $45 or something. They weren't expensive. They had a bunch that were like $5, $10, $20. So they're cute little, scenery art. And then my kid like saw this rock shop, this whole thing. One of the things he talked about on the whole trip was like panning for gold and wanting to find gold and all this. And so that was the chit chat, the whole going up to the trip, gonna find gold. So we saw the Gold Rush Museum. Well, we went to this little shop, and there was this teeny tiny nugget of gold that's, this big that he got in this little tiny jar, and it was still not cheap. I think it was still like $24 for this little thing, but he has actual gold. And then he bought a piece of raw jade, which is the Alaska state rock. So he has the state mineral gold and the state rock, which is jade. So I felt like it was our little bit of a cultural kind of morning. And then they talk about this Alaska fry bread. So we saw the people, we saw the sign, walked over, ordered one. It's like elephant ear kind of fried dessert, kind of little breakfast. So we each shared one of those and had it, and then realized like, oh, the time. So we kind of jogged. We had a little cardio, we jogged back to the trip, and then grabbed a little kind of a mini lunch because we were going to have a snack on our excursion. And then our excursion, which was a great one, it was called Bear and Eagle Quest. was a Disney excursion. It was 6 hours. I think it was about $229 and roughly, don't quote me on that, but this excursion is only offered in August and September because that's when the bear are around. There's like the exact, if you look at the excursions, you'll see them written out. There's an identical excursion that does the same excursion, but it just doesn't list the bears. I think it was maybe $10 cheaper. So if you're looking for it and you can't find it, that's what it was. But it's basically you take a catamaran ferry you land in Skagway and you go to Haines, which is an island next door. It was about 45 minutes along the Lynn Canal. And that was beautiful. I mean, you think like there's a lot of transportation and that kind of annoys me in general, but this did not annoy me because it was lots of broken up transportation. So like 45 minutes and this like scenic views, no matter where. And they just narrated it and chatted about all the stuff that happened and how they would log and drop it in the water. And then the boats would pick up the logs and they'd ferry them down to wherever. So just, it was, historical and interesting, plus the nature. After the 45 minutes, boat ride, we went into like a state park and it was cool. We walked by the water. We were able to see bald eagles they had there perched in a nest. And so they kind of like set up spotting scopes so we could take pictures of those. And then we did a little hike through the woods where he talked about like different ecology and plants and foliage of the Tongass National Park. And then came like, we would go by this river and he told this little story ahead of time, which is like kind of foreshadowing. I mean, he's like, yeah, you see this river here. There's a whole like metal platform and there's a guy standing there and he's got like this little like podium that he's standing at. And they had taken and put up all this fence along it. Well, the reason they have this is so that the salmon go through this fence one at a time. And then the dude is up there counting them. And he's like, got a little counter thing or whatever, and making sure that the salmon population is healthy enough before they put out the fishing permits. So he's telling this whole long story. And I said, so what happens when a guy like has to, have lunch or whatever? And they said, oh, they close the gate and the fish all gather there. And he kind of just raised his eyebrows at me and moved on with the day. Well, so fast forward a few hours later, it's like quitting time for this guy and he locks up shop and we see him closing up this little thing, closing up the podium, getting out into his truck and driving away. And as you look up the river, he knows, this naturalist, he's like a retired park ranger. He has us all like sitting by the grass and he's got his spotting scopes up. And sure enough, there's this mama bear and her 2 cubs. They're like, oh, did he go yet? He must have gone. Let's go. So she's got these little bears and they go walking up the river because they know it's like 4:00 and that guy leaves and the gate is closed and it's like getting fish out of the barrel and these salmon. And there were a ton. I mean, you could see the salmon all kind of hanging out, waiting for that guy to come back in the morning to let him through. And she walked him right over to this fence thing and they were fishing. And we like were up close and personal with like, well, the first time we were across the river from him watching. And then as we saw him walk along, we got some pictures, saw him in the spotting scope. And then as they circled back around to this like river, we all got in the bus and there's like a rule. You're not allowed to be like just parked right there. So the bus would go like really slow. Like he said, as long as you can see that lug nut moving around, it was fine. And I should have mentioned that our Alaska, they're conservationists. Plus stuff's hard to get, it's like, it's kind of far away. You don't have access to, like a Ford dealer up the road. So any vehicle is just maintained forever. So our tour bus was a retired school bus that they painted brown and green. So our school bus was going up and down this road, back and forth, and would turn around and we would I have video, I have photos. I mean, adorable. Like, and these 2 little cubs and this mama bear, and they were just eating their salmon. And it was an amazing, amazing excursion. So it was just amazing. So, I mean, there's a ton of places to see bears, there's different nature preserves and different than that, but it was amazing that it's like, how can you sell a bear in nature? They say you never know if you're going to see wildlife, but this guy, I mean, it was awesome. They knew, and we got to see the bears. So
that sounds incredible. But also now I need to go on a cruise in late August. Blake, we need to do this so
Yeah.
that we can see the mama bear taking her babies to get some salmon.
Always game to go back to Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Game, Alaska, salmon, that game.
It's getting punny in here.
A little punny. So yes, it's amazing. So it was just an amazing experience and like a lifetime that I will remember those moments. So I got some great video. We collected phone numbers from each other. I texted videos to people that were like they couldn't figure out their cameras and this and that. So it worked out really great. And then, it was a 6-hour and it started at like 11:15. So it was a long day. And this is one of the days we were glad we had like a later dinner. Actually, the show they were showing was Haunted Mansion had just come out, but it didn't work out like with the timing and stuff. And, so we came back, showered and made it to our dinner, which was at Triton's, the first time we actually ate there. And I marked here and highlighted it that the scallops were the best entree I had of this trip. So it was delicious. And then one silly little thing I did while on board is they have those like free charms you can collect, and they're cheap and they're kind of crap, but they're kind of fun because one of them's a little salmon and one of them's a little glacier. Is there a glacier? I don't know, but there's a little boat so it was kind of fun to collect all the different charms for a bracelet or whatever. They're still in a little bag. I don't know what I'll do with them, but I have collected one of each. And I was there looking around. I'm like, oh, there was a necklace, just like a little teeny, I saw it in the video they'd shown. I'm like, oh, that little Mickey necklace was kind of cute. I like, oh, for $6,150.
Oh my God.
I think I'll just take that free charm. Thank you. Almost what we paid for the whole cruise. We got a good deal, but goodness. Oh, a totem pole. That was my charm that day. I got a totem pole. We're DVC owners, so we stopped by the DVC counter and got our free swag and sat and listened to the lobby singer for a while. So we ventured out from Cadillac Lounge and listened to the singer for a while, and that was fun. So then that was our action-packed day 4.
Like a good one.
Yeah, great day.
Aren't they all good ones when we're in Alaska?
Yes.
5 days. Even the seat every single day. Beautiful, beautiful. Well,
that brings us into day 5, the capital of Alaska, Juneau.
Yes. Juneau was a great city. It is cool. It's amazing how you see it. They say Juneau is the only state capital that is completely landlocked. So you can only reach Juneau by boat or airplane. There are no roads. There's roads in Juneau, but there's no roads out of Juneau, which was kind of an interesting fact. So we decided, this is why we did the whale watching in Vancouver, because they say Juneau is a great place to whale watch, but I really wanted to spend time at the glacier and have a decent amount of time there. And then, of course, we want to eat some salmon. So I chose an excursion through Disney that had 3 stops. We had a great, great narrator. I mean, they find these guides and she was just dynamic. She was hilarious. Fact after fact after fact. I mean, it was a really great day. Kept everybody very engaged. And the first thing, which I was like, well, I guess it's included. We'll go. It'll be fun. It was a salmon hatchery. And I've been to salmon hatcheries in Michigan, but this was really a cool place. And I liked it because it focused on like Alaska ecology and like the various fish. Like they had these aquariums there. And who would have known there were like sea stars, like, starfish, we used to call them, that are in Alaska. Like you think those are more like a tropical fish. So it was kind of fun to learn, but it's a nonprofit place. So that, run by donations, and they help the salmon spawn and help the population of the salmon be successful. And they have a salmon ladder there to get them strong, and they hop out to sea. So it was kind of a cool hatchery. So with all the little fish and the little tiny ones and a little bit bigger ones, and they all the way through. So it's kind of interesting. And then our second stop was the longest stop, and that was to the Mendenhall Glacier. We decided to skip the center, the Mendenhall Visitor Center, to just sort of head out to the glaciers. And we did actually walk back into the visitor center for a few minutes, but our goal was to just really make sure we had enough time at the glacier. So it was it's a paved walkway to get down there to Nugget Falls, which is that big waterfall at the end. I can't remember how long that was. It was maybe 20-minute walk or something, but it was great. And it was funny, as you get like closer to the glacier, you can like feel it coming or something. I don't know. It was a little colder or something, but it was pretty amazing and then you like go around through the forest and you end up at this glacier viewing right there in the waterfall. And then on the way back, we stopped at the photo point, which is another little path. So we had some great pictures and great hike that day we had a good amount of time at Mendenhall Glacier, which was awesome.
Did you do those hikes by yourself or were they guided?
We did them by ourselves. It's really, really easy. I mean, just like go that way. There's signs and stuff. And I had watched YouTube videos and I was kind of prepared. So it was good. So she got us there and then we had an X amount of time till we had to come back. And then we stopped up. I think we got a couple little things in the visitor center, postcards, and then met back at the bus. So that was amazing. And it was a great, great, great day. And then the last stop was the Gold Creek Salmon Bake, which was pretty delicious. It was grilled. I don't know why they call it salmon bake, but it's grilled salmon. And they had that like bright pink coho salmon, like right out of the river. It was fresh and like buttery and delicious and fell apart, just delicious salmon. And they had a little glaze, which we bought some glaze so we can make it at home one day. And just a plain one, which was delicious. And the sides were good too. So it was tasty. There was a blueberry cake and then mac and cheese with that. But what was cool is this was a sort of a historic site where they had an old gold mining site. And apparently there's still little flakes of gold still in the river that will show up. So they said you can pan for gold. And I'm assuming it's going to be like, you buy this bag of dirt, you got to go through and you get like some fake gold for like $20. Nope, it was free. And it was actual mud from the actual river. And you took to the actual like bin thing and you had like a pan, not like a sifter. The actual pan. The guy taught me, he's like, you take a little bit of this and you go like this and you dump the water. And then you go like this, you spin it again, it dumps this off and you keep going and keep going. And the gold is heavier than the dirt and rocks. And I found a gold flake, like an actual gold flake from actual Alaska. And I have it wrapped in a little teeny tiny envelope. So yeah, and my poor kid couldn't get any. So we had one tiny little piece of actual gold from the actual gold thing and this mine. So it used to be a mine where they, and there was like little signs and stuff, but you could walk up the whole river, you'd see the salmon, and this, August is salmon running also. Salmon are everywhere. And it was a nice little hike and by the water. And it was just a cool vibe. It was covered in case it rained, which it didn't. We like had a little bit of mist here and there. I'd put my hood up occasionally, but we had great weather. It was super duper lucky. And there was a live musician there playing music, a little piano keyboard thing. And then out back, there was a campfire they had set up with the big trays of marshmallows to do roasting marshmallows. So that was it was just like a good camping kind of Alaska experience. Food on the campfire and then marshmallows and stuff. And then again, there were school buses that were taking you back into town that you could go back at your leisure. And it would take you right. They pointed out when we left, like, this is the spot where you want to get back on the bus. So we got back after we were done eating and Elliot and I walked up and down the roads. And my husband was like looking into this like flying death trap thing over there. Like, I just cannot go in that thing. It's that mountain you can climb up or take this gold belt tram to go up into. And so he went up in there to see if there were, I guess there's these little chicken kind of birds, some kind of grouse. I think it was a grouse maybe, as a little tiny little chicken hen bird that he was looking for. But he did see mountain goats, not the chicken birds. So he got to see the mountain goats and we just did some gift shopping and my kid picked out gifts for his buddies and brought home some snacks and t-shirts and hats and stuff. So it was good. It was another good day. Oh, we had dinner probably. We ate someplace on the boat on the ship.
All right. Well, sounds like another great day. And we have one more day in Alaska, Ketchikan. Typically, most people's last departure from Alaska tends to be the last stop for most sailings, regardless of what ship you're on. And it's a cool little town. What did we get up to in Ketchikan?
Ketchikan is great. Ketchikan is the rainiest city in Alaska, averaging 254 inches of rain per year. And somehow 254 inches of rain, it's a day like if it's not raining, they're surprised. And we somehow had a dry day. So initially we had booked a hovercraft trip which was cool. My kid was like, a hovercraft, floats you off the water and it takes you off and then you can go see this beach and stuff. But a week before our cruise, they called and canceled and refunded our excursion because the hovercraft was down and there was a part they needed from Germany to repair it. some things are just a blessing in disguise, because after like day after day after day of going, it was kind of nice to have a chill day. So I did have the opportunity to book some other stuff. I was like, I had printed off all this stuff about, because the hovercraft was only like a 90-minute excursion. So I had already printed out like a walking map and like a little, like where you walk along and then you can read about like what this building is or what this area is. So I had all that printed off to go, and we just did a DIY day. So backing up a tiny bit, my husband and I got up in the morning and went for a walk on the deck and looked down at the wildlife and this and that. And we went to a DVC celebration, which is cool for DVC members. They had cocktails, but I just had a little mocktail. And they did a little quiz show, and we had a special guest, Donald, who came in, got some pictures with him, went back up to our room, and he had somehow woken up and taken a shower, and I don't think he got up until about 10:30 in the morning. And so it's just staying up late. This kid in the kids club, he had fun. He loved it. I mean, like, I don't know, they just have a ton of fun, those guys, and the counselors are a ton of fun, and they really had a fun time up there. But we did not stay up that late, so it was good. Those were my rules: get enough sleep. So after we did the DVC thing, that's when we got off at 11:15. And the first thing we did was have lunch at the Alaska Fish House, which is right there. You can see it from the ship. And that is some delicious food. And I love it because we got to rope drop and be like some of the first people there. Otherwise, it is just jam-packed, crazy, busy, because it's super delicious there.
Did you guys berth right downtown then?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was nice. There was like some berth by the sign, "Welcome to Ketchikan," over the walkway, and we were down at the other end. So it was cool to just, be right there. So we walked right at, we could see our ship from the Alaska Fish House. So that's how close we were on that, whatever berth that was. I had looked that all up ahead of time, but I can't remember now. So what's unique there is they have fish and chips, but they have 3 kinds of fish and chips. They have a salmon, a cod, and a halibut fish and chips. So we wanted to try everything. So we ordered one of that and shared it. And then we had a pound of Dungeness crab, which was also delicious. And then we just sort of broke out my walking map, and we walked by these historic houses. We walked on Creek Street, went into the shops and stuff. The Creek Street is like a raised walkway over, and you can see down into like the river there. And there was this like seal just floating around and popping up and looking at the tourists and going around. So it was kind of fun. Everyone's like, ooh, the seal right downtown. Millions of salmon. Salmon were running, and they were just a running. Like we'd walk along, like we were through the downtown, cut around, and then as we head toward the salmon ladder, there's all this, all the rivers and stuff, and just like they were like on top of each other. And it was like you couldn't even see the bottom of the water because there were so many salmon. And then there's a natural salmon ladder, and it's crazy the jumping they do. I mean, you just think like a little jump. It was like feet and feet, and you would see him jumping and failing and jumping and failing and jumping and failing. I'm like, here's your growth mindset, kid. Just keep going, whatever you're working for. Look at these salmon. Look how hard they're working. So it was amazing to see that all, the salmon actually running. And then the spawning, then at the top, it was kind of more mellow and calm, and you could kind of see eggs even, they pointed out. And then we went to the Totem Pole Heritage Center, which was up and around. It was just a few bucks to get in there. We saw all these totem poles. And then just kind of circled back around to downtown and ended up back at the ship again. We were back in the downtown area, and then hours had gone by. So we had a little snack. We found a pizza place that had salmon pizza, as one does. And then we got this salmon chowder because the fish, it was too much food to eat at the first meal. So I'm like, well, we should at least try the chowder. So we had a chowder pizza snack for like our little third meal, like our little afternoon before dinner meal. And then again, a light dinner is what we ended up deciding to do. That show that night were these 3 trio of a cappella gals that were singing, and they were great. I mean, how do they make all those music sounds with just their voices? Just awesome. And then again, my kid was to the edge again till midnight. Oh, I marked down that Tiana's had a great pecan tart that was recommended. I had like a chill night. It was nice after just like days. And it was kind of like the theme of the trip. Like we would go all day and then have time to chill and relax and listen to live music and have a drink and make our way to dinner and the show, and then the dinner. And it was good. We get for the photo package, we didn't buy the unlimited package. I feel like we sort of, every single picture is sort of the same. Like we're in the backdrop with all three of us. We're with Goofy and all three of us. And we're with Mickey and all three of us. And I just said, let's just buy 10. So we ended up with like, we took a handful of pictures and we picked out our 10 favorites. So we did get the outside pictures on Glacier Day and a handful of dress up pictures and Pirate Night pictures, which was kind of fun. So that was good. I
actually really like that 10 picture package.
Yeah.
I think that's like a really good amount.
It's perfect. Getting the unlimited, it's just, I mean, if you're meeting like all the characters and, and the princess and all this kind of stuff, then it's probably a better option. But for just if you just need a handful of pictures, and we take a ton of photos anyways. So it was perfect. And there was a Pirate Night, but I don't even have notes about it. There was probably a Pirate Night thing. I don't even know if we went out on deck, but I think I wore a pirate shirt. It was good. And that was our day 6.
Yeah, we did a very similar thing in Ketchikan where we didn't book anything, and it's so walkable. There's so much to do really within like half a mile or so right there between Creek Street. You have the park and the Totem Pole.
The Totem Pole Park, and then there's the Pole Heritage Center.
Yep, that's all like right up the hill up there. And then plus, if there is some sort of like shopping knickknack that you collect or need for your cruise, you will find this in Ketchikan, because there is no shortage of every sort of knickknack niche in Ketchikan.
That's right.
It is very, very busy though, especially once you get to like midday. There's usually like 6, sometimes even 7 ships in that port. I think there's 4 main berths, and they will also have 2 or 3 ships tendering in. And then there is another berth, which is typically where Norwegian is, which is like 15 minutes away, and they bus you in. I will also put out if another cool local food spot there is Alaskan Crepe Company. It's where we ate. It's a husband and a wife, and I believe the husband's from Alaska. The wife is from France, and they decided to open a crepe shop there, and it was pretty bomb.
What sort of crepes? They had sweet and savory crepes?
Yes, all sorts of combinations. But they were they were busy, but so sweet, because they would come out and be like, oh, here's your crepe. We hope you like it. Like, if anything's wrong with it, let us know. Like, we'll remake it for you. We're like, no, nothing's wrong with it. It's great. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Great. Do they have seafood crepes too? I hope. Probably.
I believe they did.
Yeah. Fun. Oh, I did not know about that place. I mean, you could only eat at so many places.
Right.
But that sounds like a gem of a place.
Yeah, and I think we went to like a local coffee shop there too, as you do.
As one does. Yeah, that's good. Oh, fun. Yes, it is great. It was sad to see the trip coming to an end. I mean, it was action packed. We were tired, but I don't know, just going to bed on time helped, I think. It's just life advice. Go to bed on time. You'll feel better in the morning.
This is my way. This is the Christy way.
Right. At least the late dinner, they're fast about it. They knew we were like, let's get the show on the road. We would have our menus looked up ahead of time. We'd order everything. They'd bring it. We'd go. It was good. It was nice. They know you're hungry and tired, and it doesn't need to take too long. So it's nice. It was a very casual.
Nice thing about late dining, especially on an Alaskan cruise, is some of these aboard times are after your first dining time. So if you're late dining, you're almost never going to miss your dinner. But if you are early dining and you want to take full advantage of your time in Alaska, which is totally understandable, you may be sacrificing some of your dining menus for that.
Yes. Now, one thing I will say, the vibe on an Alaskan cruise, for anyone that's going in the future or packing, when I go on a cruise, we usually dress for dinner. And I brought, I brought blouses, and I was like a casual, I had yoga pants that could pass for dress pants. I packed a bunch of those and black shoes. I wish I would have just brought a bunch of sweaters and leggings. I really did not need a blouse or anything dressy at all. And people could just if you would have come back from an excursion with your backpack and walked right to dinner, that would have been fine. So if it seems like it's getting close and you're like, oh wait, but we got to shower and get dressed for dinner, do not worry about it. It is completely fine on an Alaska cruise, even on Disney, even in Triton's. The only thing would be Palo that you would, want to dress up for, but it was completely unnecessary. And if I would do it again, I would probably pack 7 pairs of leggings and like 3 sweaters that I could rotate around. And that's about it. And then just, layers, sweatshirts for out and about, or, or jeans or whatever, but it's a very casual cruise. So the one day, like if we did get moved to main dining, we would have been close coming back from our bear excursion in Skagway, but we had late dining. It didn't matter. But honestly, after the first day or two, I was like, what am I at? And so I had a ton of blouses that went unworn. I did not need any blouses or skirts or anything. So that's another tip about Alaska.
Well, moving in, you have the perfect last day to any cruise. You get to finish with a day at sea. How was our final day aboard the Disney Wonder?
Sea days are just marvelous. And it was no different. It was lovely. So we did get to sleep in a little bit. Having the balcony was great because we ordered, our tip to order coffee the night before. It stays hot enough for us. We would order 2 trays would come. We would get the hot water for my kid with hot chocolate packets and the hot coffee for us. We would put the milk in the fridge and a couple bowls of fruit, and we would order that cheese and cracker plate what's it called? Olive board or olive shore something. So it's a cheese, all hands on deck, cheese platter with crackers. And we'd just stick it in the fridge. And then we would just snack on a little cheese and cracker plate with fruit for breakfast. I'm like, we're going to eat plenty of food. We do not need, or we would, have a little snack and then tie us over and eat breakfast. But it's just the perfect thing. I've had it in the past where I'm like, oh, I'm always up by 7:00. We will order our little breakfast hanger and hang it on the door at 7. And then like the door knocks and it's 7:00 and we're sleeping in, and what is that sound? And we're on a cruise. Okay. And I should put pants on before I go to the door. And then this poor man's walking in. I'm like, shh, everybody's sleeping. And he's walking in a quiet, dark room. So I'm just like, let's just do this. So if you order off the room service the night before and stick it in the fridge, it is there in the morning and you don't have to worry about guessing what time you'll wake up on a sea day. So we did that and we sat out on our balcony, enjoyed our coffee, had our little fruit and cheese and crackers, and got ready to go down for our 9:30 in the morning walking tour on the Wonder, which is one of our favorite things to do. I love it because each time you take a tour, they teach you different stuff. We had a great guide. They sort of point out the different themes of the ship. They go level to level and just say how this carpet or this music and these colors and these patterns and how it all ties together. And it's just stuff that's beautiful, you notice, but you don't really think about like all the details and the Imagineering of what all they've designed on the ship. So it's pretty awesome. And then we had that, little light breakfast because we were signed up to do Palo brunch that day. So it was our first time doing Palo. I'm sort of the school of thought that like, I don't want to like give up free food to go pay for food, although it's really good value. But brunch, I felt like, well, we're not giving up a dinner to have this. So we went to brunch and it was delicious and lovely. It's like a very upscale dining experience. Our waiter was actually from Italy, which was kind of cool because it's Palo. And it's just a ton of food. It's, you can pick as much as you want and do whatever. And I just felt like this is just too much food. So we ended up sharing a ton of stuff. Like we got I guess Benedict and shared it. And we got I don't even remember what else. If we got a waffle and shared it, but just a lot of different little things and shared it. And then like my husband had got like the charcuterie, the meat one, and then I had done the seafood one. And so it was perfect. And the dessert was delicious. There was like a lemon thing, I think.
Always the joke with Steve, because he always orders the lemon at dinner too, instead of the chocolate souffle. And we always have to tell him he's ordering wrong.
I don't think he's ordering wrong.
You can't have the chocolate souffle at lunch, can you?
No, it's only at dinner. So for lunch, you order just fine, I suppose.
Okay. I'm trying to look and see at this. Oh, and then coming up, I'm looking at my pictures. Oh, it was also, what is this thing? It's like a creamy cup of like a pudding or something.
Panna cotta.
Oh yeah, that is delicious.
That is
my favorite.
That I did have. So I see a picture of a lemon here. I don't know where the camera is. There's the lemon. And then here is the panna cotta.
Panna cotta is fantastic.
Yeah, I think we'd ordered, and it was hard not to eat all of his dessert. I was like, this is so good. And actually, I want to say I didn't eat my lemon. Now that I'm looking at this, I don't think I ate it. I think they brought me panna cotta instead. Having a bad day, and it was our birthday, so it says happy birthday, Amy. They brought a plate, so it was fun. Yeah. And then we did champagne tasting. Was our afternoon fun. I had been wanting champagne is my favorite. It is that's my drink. It's one of my just a little bit of champagne, and it was actual champagne from the Champagne region of France here. And they taught us like, have a sip of this, now put a lemon in, now taste it again. And it was just, and there was ice in it. It was just amazing. And then they had a little couple chocolates to taste with stuff. So it was very informative. And that's probably one of our favorite things that we've done. And then we carried on. We started packing in between stuff, got everything together. We like to take our bags off the ship ourselves. I just feel like I don't like to get stuff together and then have a separate bag with toiletries that you can't bring on the plane. You got to pack in your suit. So we take our own luggage off. So we didn't put our bags out the night before. We just packed everything up. We're ready to go. We did our show, which was Disney Dreams. I know it's a little silly with that little adult that's acting like a tween, but we actually really enjoyed it this time. I don't know if it's just like the sweet ending of the cruise, but all the Disney music, the Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella and Peter Pan, it's just very nostalgic. It's the Disney I grew up with, and it was great. Where I'm like, I kind of like the show this time, so it was kind of fun to watch the Disney Dream again. And we had the Captain's Gala dinner at Triton's. So that was our final dinner. And then our kids said goodbye to the tween club. They had spent a lot of time out playing basketball too. So there's pictures of him playing basketball on the ship with his cool edge sunglasses, and a ton of fun. It's, it's like, 12, 13-year-olds, they're getting a little grown up, but they still are a kid. See, it's nice to let them have a little autonomy in a safe environment. The kids can wander, there's like cameras everywhere. So it was a fun. And I like the one time as he was getting used to the vibe of checking in, he had just gotten a phone. I'd only gotten him a phone because, the cruise in February had happened. So he was getting used to the phone. And I'm like, you got to look at your phone every once in a while. Just, he'd show up at dinner. I'm like, what about a message I sent you, 3 hours ago? So I went to go ask him something, and I walked in. I'm like, oh, hey, is Elliot around? They're like, oh, he went to play basketball. Like they knew where the kid was, even though he's allowed to check it out. And he mostly hung out there, and he learned after that. It was on like day 2. Okay, I'll text you if I'm leaving. Like you can go get ice cream or soda, but just if you wander off to go do something, let me know. But yeah, so he had gone and played basketball and had a ton of fun doing all the different, he's a joiner, he just activity, let's go do the activity. So it was fun. So then in the morning we woke up, and it's like just in the morning, as we had left 7 days before, it's a really cool port with the cool dolphins and orca painted everywhere, and it was time to leave. So we flew that day back to Toronto, spent the night at the airport hotel in Toronto again. It's a Marriott. I got a good price. I feel like I might have even got used points or something. And then the drive home. So it's a great way to do it. And then here we are. It was Labor Day that we flew home, and then back to the real world again.
Well, sounds like just an absolutely fantastic sailing. Of all of your excursions you did, what was the highlight?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, the bears were amazing. The glacier, both glaciers were amazing. The glacier excursion, I mean, top notch. And then walking to the glacier was also awesome.
So everyone.
Oh, and our cruise guy, he was so funny. I can't remember his name. Trent? Is it Trent? Yeah. Cruise director. He's so funny. He was like, catch can, you board right there. And he was like saying, he's like, see, you're in catch can wonder, like 1 foot on, 1 foot off, 1 foot on, 1 foot off. So it was kind of it was just fun. It was like the beauty of a Disney cruise, deluxe travel, great accommodations, awesome food, shows, quality service, great staff, and then like nature and actual like breathtaking nature like you've never seen before. My husband said as we floated through the glacier down the fjord that day, he goes, it's like we're floating down Yosemite. Like they filled Yosemite with water and put a cruise ship in it. And he's like, stone granite mountains all around you. And the, you know, the sky was perfect, waterfalls and this beautiful blue water and like this green lush land as you go along. I mean, it is just, I have 1 million pictures and none of them do it justice. And the feeling and the fresh air and it's just an amazing, amazing experience going to Alaska. So we do hope to return one day, but we have some other cruises booked, as you may know. Spoiler alert, we booked on our last day. You know, you always should book toward the end of your cruise a placeholder, because then it gives you a couple extra days, depending on if you have flexibility using it in the future. So we have a couple cruises booked coming up. This was our 4th cruise and 4th ship. Our next cruise, the 5th ship, will be the Magic in August. So we'll have done all 5 ships that exist until a few months later, when the new ship, the Treasure, sails, and we're doing the Treasure in June of 2025. So we are booked. We have our rooms picked. The Magic is paid in full, and we'll start collecting the Disney gift cards for the Treasure after we get back.
Oh, just knocking out the Grand Slam there. And we definitely hope to have you back on to talk about some of your next cruises. Before we take you out, did you have any notable cast interactions?
And we really had a great serving team. Do I remember their names? No, I should have written their names down. We had a great serving team. I mean, everybody's amazing. You know, like, I can't think of anything. Oh, you know, honestly, who are probably meeting Ken, the naturalist. I know he's not cast, but that was really fun getting to chat with him and just sort of like off the record and talking about different stuff in Alaska. You felt like you were getting that kind of intimate moment, learning a little bit more than was discussed during the lectures. But I don't know, it was just an amazing, we had, you know, great dining team. Our room steward was great. I mean, it's just like a regular Disney cruise. Like, I think they kind of know us just right. You know, they get to know you. We're okay not having someone trip over themselves looking after us. Like, we're pretty independent people. I think people, they kind of know, like, oh, we can chat with them for a little bit and they can kind of be left alone for a while. And like them figuring out our pace of our meals was nice. So it was a good, like, very custom, you know, they warm up to you really fast, figure you out. And it just works out very well for, you know, what we love.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Amy, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your Alaska sailing experience.
It was fun. It's fun to relive it. It's like refreshing all this stuff, you know, looking through my notes and photos. I'm like, oh, yeah, remember all these fun things we did? So we'll have to put this back on our list another late August.
Well, the next best thing to taking a Disney cruise is talking about a Disney cruise, right? Yeah, or maybe booking a Disney cruise and then talking about a Disney cruise.
That's perfect.
And talking about booking a Disney cruise.
Booking about all things about the Disney cruise. It's magical.
Well, Amy, thank you again so much for coming on. That is going to do it for this episode of the DCL Podcast, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show. Once again, we want to thank Amy for coming on and sharing her time in Alaska aboard the Disney Wonder. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting our community at patreon.com/DCL Podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.